Hello folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. Today again we are continuing with this topic, the standards in auditing, right? And the standard under consideration for us today is SA 315, identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment, right? So we have already had 2 lectures on this topic, on this standard of auditing, right? Over there we have already seen how to understand the entity, how to understand its environment, and also dealt with the aspect of assessing the risk of material misstatement, both at assertion level as well as the financial statement level. Right? We have also seen what are the various assertions that we need to evaluate, like the transactions, the account balances, and the presentation and the disclosure. Right? Then further, we have also considered the risk assessment procedure, the risk that requires special audit considerations, like the frauds and the complex transaction with related party transaction and stuff, and also the revision of the risk assessment, that yes, it can be revised. And finally, the last topic we covered in the previous lecture was the area to be examined for deficiency and the risk identification in the CIS environment, where we had learned about the 5 different areas. So today in the lecture we will move ahead with understanding the internal control. Right? So basically the essay was divided into 2 parts, understanding the entity and its environment and understanding the internal control. So today we'll start with understanding the internal control. Right? So when we are talking about internal control, first of all, what is important for you is to understand what internal controls are. Now, internal control basically is the internal check, you can say, right? It is a part of internal audit, you can say. Now, basically, whenever you undergo a transaction, I'll take an example. For example, you need to, you are a manufacturing client and you are into manufacturing cups, right? Now, when you need to manufacture that cup, you need that sand, the clay, the paint, and everything. So, you need to first assess the requirement of how many cups you need to produce. Who will give you the requirement? The requirement will be given by the marketing department. Right? So what internal control will you have over there is whether the marketing department has analyzed the demand of the market, and then they will send an intimation to the production department, or basically to the procuring department, and then in the procuring department you will have to see that yes, this is the receipt from the marketing department, and that has been authorized by the head of the marketing department, that yes, we have checked it and this is what you need to procure. And then for the procurement department, these people will go out and they will check the various vendors who are giving what, and for that what will they have? They'll have the quotations, right? And then they need to verify the quotations. They will have to compare the quotations and go for the best thing, as in matter of the cost as well as in the terms of quality, right? So another internal control that you have over there is that they will have to maintain the various quotations that they have checked. The company says they will have to have at least 4 quotations that they will invite. This is kind of an internal control, so that they do not give out the contract to their preferred party for any benefit. So they'll have to show that yes, we have 4 this quotations, and based on the evaluation we have selected 1. That is an internal control that you have applied. Then what intimation do you give to the procurer? When do you receive the gift? What are the goods? What are the terms and conditions? Right? And then you make the payment. And before making the payment again, you will have to confirm that yes, the goods have been received. Where do you confirm? You confirm it into your inventory. You go and check your store, right? The store department, in the store department, the store bin keeper, he prepares a note. He will forward that note that yes, this is the inventory that has come in on this day. And when that is received with the authorization of the storekeeper, then the person in the finance department will disburse the, and when he also receives the documents, then he will disburse the amount into the name of that party who has sent the goods, right? So these are basically the internal control that we're talking about, whereby the work of each person is actually checked by someone else. So the work of all the subordinates will be checked by the senior in the hierarchy. Between various departments, you will have to see the authorization received from the other department. If there is some clearances to be made, you will have to take an approval from the head of finance also. So these are the kinds of check that you implement, so that he is always aware of what is going on, and he knows for what and for what not is he supposed to give the clearances, right? So this is basically a short example of how controls are applied, right? So that, for example, now if you need to take some documents of stationery, right? You have a store of stationery, and from there you want to issue certain stationery to the finance department. Even for that you have internal controls. You will have to have the approval that yeah, these inventories have to come out. Then you'll have to record it over there that yes, this person has taken this inventory, right? All these things. Now it has been automated a little bit, where you have the sanctions over the mail and stuff, but otherwise in the previous days what happened is that you had a document and there was a physical signature, and the document was to be stored with the person who is in charge of the stationery. He will always have to reconcile that yes, these are the documents that I have received for the issuance of the stationery, and these are the people to whom I have issued this stationery, and hence at the end my stationery balance shows this, that is reconciled, and now I need to go for purchasing. He always has a proof of this is going on, right? And so that there is no stealing of stationery, and hence authorization is needed if somebody comes to take the stationery. So these are small examples of what internal controls are in your day-to-day activities in the entity, right? Now if we go on to define internal control, then it is the process which is designed, implemented or maintained right, by the TCWG, management or other personnel. So the entire process that we have talked about, right, this process has to be planned and designed. And who is responsible for designing these controls? It will be designed by the management. It will be designed by the people who are charged with governance. So if there is a specific committee that has been formed for maintaining the internal control, then that committee will have to design the internal control. Or there are other personnel who are authorized to do so, right? So they will design the internal control, and then they will also implement it into their organization, into the working, right? So if we have, for example, decided that yeah, if you want to take up stationery from this area, you will have to have an authorization from this person. So that is a control that they have planned, and then that will be implemented, that yes, there will be a voucher that will be prepared, and that voucher will be signed from that person, and then the person will come and issue that yeah, these many pens, these many copies, these many registers, these many staplers, and these all things will be issued, right? Then it has also to be maintained over the period, right? If there is some modifications required, they will modify it, or otherwise they will also always make sure that these processes are being followed, right? So that is basically internal control. The process is designed, implemented and maintained by TCWG, management or other personnel, right? And why is this process basically designed, implemented and maintained? So as to provide a reasonable assurance, right, that certain objectives of the entity for which these controls are being formulated are being met. Now what are the kinds of objectives for which internal controls can be formulated? Then it could be formulated to provide reasonable assurance about reliability of financial reporting. When we talk about reliability of financial reporting, we mean that yes, all the transactions, all the details, all the entries, right, the entire financial reporting, the financial statements are free from material misstatement, right? So your controls have been so strong that the chances of material misstatement into the financial reporting is reduced, right? That is the kind of assurance you have to give. That is the kind of process you have to design, and that process is your internal control, right? Then to provide reasonable assurance about the effectiveness and efficiency of the management, that yes, the management has been working very effectively, they are very efficient, and they have been able to manage the company very well. They have been able to undergo all the procedures, all the compliances very well, right? Safeguarding of the asset, that there is no embezzlement, there is no stealing of the asset, there is no use of the asset for the personal purposes. These are the ways there are ways how you safeguard them, right? Compliance with applicable law and regulation. This is another aspect that has to be very critically assessed by the management, and then a very good tight process has to be designed for the compliance with the applicable law and regulation. And these processes have to be designed by some people who have the knowledge of the law and regulation in the industry, right? And when we talk about control, we are talking about one or more components of the internal control. So I hope you are clear with what internal control is, right? You are controlling the activities of each person by a defined procedure that you have implemented. Nobody can act in isolation. Nobody will have the ultimate power. Nobody will have the ultimate authority. right? So even if you have the issuance of stock, if there are something very precious in your stock that you maintain, then you will have a dual control over that. If no single person will issue the stock from the inventory, and the person who will be entering, who will be maintaining the stock register, will be a separate person altogether. Otherwise, what will this person do? If he wants that item, he will take it up in his pocket, he'll move out and he'll do an entry in the register that yeah, this has been issued for production, whereas it was never issued for production and it has gone to his home, right? So that is what we mean by internal control, right? Then what we need to understand is the objective of internal control. So as we have seen, the transactions for issue of stationery, the example that we have taken, the issue of goods, the purchase of the raw material, all these transactions are authorized, are the first thing that we need to check, right? Either it is a general authorization or it is a specific authorization from some department head that is needed. So that authorization process has to be very strong, and the person who is receiving that order, right, will compare the signature also, that yeah, this thing has been authorized by this person, this is a designation. He will refer to the authorization schedule of the entity, that the person who is the signatory to this document, is he the only person who is authorized? What will happen in his absence? Who is the second best alternative? Even that is defined in the authorization schedule of the entity, right? So first of all, what we need to check is that transactions that are executed are properly authorized, right? The second objective of internal control is to have appropriate recording, right? So that means to record all the transactions appropriately. When we talk about recording the transactions appropriately, we mean appropriate account, appropriate amount, appropriate date, appropriate period, like we have seen the cutoff procedures, which is the period to which it will pertain. We'll have to record it in that period, right? We'll have to record it as per the accounting policies that we have applied, right? There are certain statutory requirements for the for its identification. So all the transactions, when we are recording it, we'll have to follow all the procedures and check that yeah, the transaction is being recorded in all aspects in correct manner, right? If we have sold a good on credit to Mr. X, then we will include Mr. X into debtor with the same amount, right? And the period would be the period of sale, right? When we talk about period of sale, again, if we go back to the example that we have taken in the previous lecture about the cutoff procedures, right? So it may fall in May, in the month of March, it may fall in the month of April next year. So accordingly the debtor would be recognized. And when we're talking about statutory requirements, in the statutory requirements, we would refer to recognition of government grant, for example, right? So these would require statutory provisions to be recorded, right? So appropriate recording of transaction is another objective of internal control. You should have maintained your control in such a manner that would initiate or that would ensure appropriate recording of the transactions. Next objective is to safeguard your assets, fixed assets, your inventories, your assets of stationeries, stock, whatever it is, you'll have to safeguard them. Safeguard how? So that it is not stolen, so that it is not misused, so that it is not personally used, right? So that it is not deteriorated or destroyed. So you will have to apply internal control to have these checks. For the store inventory, we have seen that yeah, there will be a separate inventory keeper, there will be a separate person handling the records, so that if there is at any point of time a mismatch between the record and the inventory, you can hold the person responsible within due time, so that the inventory can be recovered. That is the kind of control you apply, right? If it is, for example, a manufacturing entity, and you manufacture items which are small in size and easy to be stolen, so you will install cameras, you will check all the laborers when they move out, you will appoint two personnel to check all the laborers, to check their pockets whether or not they are carrying something out, right? So you will have to safeguard your asset, right? Next, the last objective of internal control is for promoting the physical verification. And when we talk about physical verification, that is to reconcile the physical asset with the asset that is recorded in the books of accounts. And over here we deal with both the inventories, the fixed assets, all the kinds of assets. If you're talking about fixed assets and we say that yeah, we have 4 machineries, we have 2 mills, we have 3 air conditioners, we have these many tables, these many chairs, then when you physically verify, you should know that yeah, these are the exact numbers that we are talking about in the financials. If we're talking about inventory of raw material, work in progress, finished goods, consumables, packing materials, so whatever is the quantity that is specified along with the amount in your financial statement, you will have to reconcile that. And how do you check inventories? You don't count inventories, but you are present in the inventory check that is performed by the client personnel. And there you verify, and on test check basis you confirm that yeah, the inventories are appropriate. That is physical verification of the assets. Right? If you in your office you have 15 PCs installed, 15 workstations, then you have to check that yeah, there are 15 workstations installed. That yeah, there are 15 pen drives that has been authorized to be purchased. 15 pen drives have been purchased. 10 remain in the IT department and 5 have been issued. And these are the 5 personals to whom that pen drive has been issued. So you have a track of that asset. That is how you physically verify the asset. Right? So the basic objective of internal control is to see that the transactions are authorized, the transactions are recorded appropriately, assets are safeguarded, and are easily physically verified. Right? That is the basic objective of internal control. Now we move on to one of the most important part, that is the components of internal control. Components of internal control is a little detailed discussion that we will be holding on the 5 components, and that will take a substantive amount of time. So what we think is it would be better if we cover it up in the next lecture. So today I'll just give you a glimpse of what are the 5 components, and we'll cover it in detail in the concluding or in the subsequent lecture. Right? So the various components of the control environment are the internal control are the control environment, risk assessment procedure, the information system area to be examined, the control activities relevant to audit, and the monitoring of the control. Right? So these are actually the 5 components of internal control, that yes, you need to have a controlled environment. The entire environment should be under your control. Next is the risk assessment process. Like the auditors have the risk assessment process, when they go for the audit, the management should also have a risk assessment process of themselves. Right? Then you have the information system area to be examined. Right? You will have to check what are the information systems that you have. You examine your MIS, management information system. How are the transactions recorded? How are they identified? How are they reported? Right? We'll be talking about these aspects in the information system area to be examined. Then we have the control activities relevant to audit. Over here we'll see the policies which ensure that the management directives are being followed. Right? And at last we have the monitoring of the control. Right? We will monitor that the controls that we have implemented are actually working effectively. Right? So these are the 5 components that we will be discussing in the next lecture. So until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.